You will not speak to the Rav this way. Not here. Not ever. Please leave now.
Welcome to Prism of Torah with Rabbi Saf Aaron Prisman, engaging Divrei Torah, packed with stories and practical insights. Find us wherever you get your podcasts or at prismoftorah.org.
Shalom Uvracha. In this week's Parsha, Parshas Vayetze, I want to share with you a Mordecai idea that I'm basing on the Mahalach of the Drush Dovid. The pasuk in Vayeitzei says that Yaakov left Be'er Sheva and went to Haran. Vayeitzei Yaakov in Be'er Sheva, Vayelech Haranu. Rashi quotes a Midrash Rabbah. The Midrash Rabbah was bothered. If you're saying that I left place A to go to place B, the fact I left place A is redundant if you are already aware that I'm in place A. So why is the Torah saying that Yaakov left Be'er Sheva? That's obvious, because we know he's in Be'er Sheva. It was enough to say that he went Harana. And indeed, the Midrash answers this question by saying it's to teach you that when a tzaddik leaves a place, then the city loses its glory, pana hoida, pana ziva, etc. But the question that still stands, and the Kli Yakar asks it, I don't understand. There were tzaddikim before Yaakov that left the place, such as Yitzchak and Avraham. So why isn't the Torah teaching us that concept over there? It almost seems like there's something very unique that is only related to when Yaakov left the city. Interestingly, Rashi also brings down another scenario, which is when Ruth left a certain place. It also speaks it out in a very similar way, that she left place A to go to place B, even though we knew already she was in place E. As the pasuk in Ruth, Perek Aleph pasuk Zayin, says, Vayeitzei min hamakom asher ata sham. They left the place already there in order to go back to Eretz Yehuda. So once again, what's unique about Ruth leaving the place? To answer this and many other questions along the way, I want to share with you the concept of the Drush Dovid. The Drush Dovid explains that we have to understand that there was a major change in Yaakov's life when he got the blessings from Yitzchak. The blessing that Yitzchak thought he was giving to Esau, that he actually gave to Yaakov at the end, were about materialism. And why is that? Yitzchak thought that Yaakov and Esau would work together, Yaakov on the spiritual front, and anything to do with physical and materialism will be Esau, and they'll tag team, so to speak, and work together. However, HaKadosh Baruch Hu orchestrated that Yaakov will take both positions. And that's what Yitzchak noticed, that once Hashem orchestrated that Yaakov will get the blessings, he says, Gam Baruch Yeh. Indeed, he needs to get this blessing to do his new tafkid. And I will explain. His first tafkid until this point was to be, like we spoke about last week, Yoshev Ohalim. He has to be on his own in the tent, learning Torah, to build his spirituality. However, once he got the blessing, that means he got a new tafkid. He had now a new assignment. And that assignment was about taking the spirituality, the Yeshev Ohalim in him, and fighting evil face to face, begalui, with full awareness, and that everyone can see, not in a hidden place that he learns Torah on his own, but he has to inject spirituality into the world, into the physical world, especially where there's evil. In order to fulfill this important mission, he realized it wasn't enough to learn by his father Yitzchak, who was a big tzaddik. He was mamish kodesh hakodashim, holy of holiness. As we know, he was about to be sacrificed as a korban. And hence, he felt when he left, after he got the blessing to do his new mission, he felt he needed to go for 14 years of learning in the Beis Midrash, in this special yeshiva, Shem Va'ever. Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky brings down that indeed that's why he went there, because he knew that they had the experience, they were during a certain time that they knew how to use Torah to fight evil. And when he left Be'er Sheva and went to Haran, that was his goal, not only to have learned and continuously learned spirituality on his own, Torah, but also fight evil. And that's exactly where he was heading. As we know, he went to the Lavan. He had to fight evil there. Then he had to fight the angel of Esav, Saro shel Esav, and then Esav himself. Later on, this is actually hinted by the new name Hashem gave him through the angel when he fought the angel of Esav. Until now, he was called Yaakov. Yaakov, Rashi explains to us that Yaakov, and that pasuk over there, when the angel says, from now on, you will be called Yaakov, he explains that Yaakov is from the word okva uremiyah, which is deceit, which is resembling the idea of in a hidden way. And now your name will be called Yisrael. Israel represents the word srara, which represents the idea of glory, of he's now going to be in front of everyone, fighting evil. That's his new mission. So he has now two missions. Also, learning on his own Torah and gaining heights in spirituality. On the other hand, also using that spirituality, injecting it into the physical world and fighting evil. Based on this idea, we can also answer a very famous question that the Gemara asks. Avram's name was changed from Avram to Avraham to become Av Hamon Goyim, a father of all the nations. Yaakov's name was switched to Yisrael. How come we are forbidden to call Avraham with his old name Avram? However, Yaakov we can call him Yaakov even though his name changed to Yisrael. The Gemara answers because the Kadosh Baruch Hu still called Yaakov and not only Israel. But the obvious question is, that seemingly just reveals to us we're allowed to call him like that. But why? What's the real reason? What's the sibah? I would like to suggest what we're saying now. Because Yaakov still had two missions. He didn't leave his old mission. He had two missions in life. As opposed to Avraham, it was the same mission. And the second name reveals that he reached a higher level. He's now the father of all nations, not a single nation. And it's not right to call him the old name. Based on this idea, we also understand why it was so important for Yaakov to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and say, please protect me. As it says, V'shavti b'shalom, I want to be shalem minachet, shelo elmad midarkei Lavan. I want to be complete, that I won't sin and I won't learn from the evil, from Lavan and others. And hence he indeed got a special bracha from HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the dream. As it says, V'nei anochi imcha, v'shemarticha b'chol asher telech, I will be with you, don't worry. I'll protect you in this new mission you have to take care of. Based on this, we can answer our main question that we started off with. Why is the Yetziah of Yaakov emphasized? Vayeitzei mi Be'er Sheva. We know you went out of Be'er Sheva if you went to Haran. Elamai, it's to teach us we have to emphasize his exit, because his exit is him taking on a new way of life, a new mission on top of his old mission. And by the way, the same is true with Ruth. Ruth, when she left, she also started a new mission. She was on the mission of converting and joining the Jewish nation. So what does this have to do with us? We know that Maaseh Avois Siman Lebanim, and what the Avois do is actually hinting to us what our mission in life is. By doing this, Yaakov Avinu injected into our spiritual DNA, the Jewish people, that we should always have two missions in life. One is to learn Torah, to gain in spirituality, to gain new heights in spirituality continuously. We have to do that in order not to fall back. However, that isn't enough. We also have to take that spirituality and inject it into the world, fighting evil and doing the right things and injecting it and elevating the physical. Just like Yaakov did, we have to do the same thing. I would like to end off with a very unique maaseh or story that I witnessed 10 years ago, being at a local kollel over here in Ramat Beit Shemesh Aleph, where it was very interesting. There was a certain person that probably was one of the earliest people in the kollel, got there literally after the Shachris, and left one of the latest there. His head was always buried in the Gemara. The only time you heard him speaking was when he was fighting a fight of Torah, trying to figure out what Chazal are teaching us, what the Gemara is saying. His head was either in the Gemara or Shulchan Aruch, completely absorbed in the learning. Very soft-spoken, gentle, adin nefesh, the type who would apologize if he accidentally bumped into you. And suddenly, one Tuesday morning, I'll never forget it, the way I looked at him changed everything. I walked into the shul, and there weren't many people at the shul. He was there, the Rav of the shul was there, and 2 other people. And suddenly a man was standing in this Rav's face, literally inches away, saying things I can't even repeat. His voice was loud, angry. He kind of says, Mr. X, instead of saying Rabbi X. You call yourself a Rav. You destroyed my family with your psak. It was clearly not the right psak. And he started screaming at him and saying things in a very, let's just say, not polite, not nice way. It was obviously about a Beis Din case that the Rav decided something that he wasn't happy with. The Rav stood there a bit pale, silent, trying to not take notice of what happened. The people in the shul that were there at the time were paralyzed. Nobody knew what to do. But suddenly, there was movement from the corner. This quiet person that was learning all the time with his head in the Gemara, I never heard him even raise his voice, closed his Gemara gently, but then came out, and he was marching towards this person. He crossed the shul in a couple of big strides, and he said, that is enough. His voice was very strong. You will not speak to the Rav this way. Not here. Not ever. Please leave now. This aggressor person turned away. He just turned away. And I think this, we'll call him a Talmid Chacham that was learning all day, this is exactly the person that showed both of these qualities, both of these missions that Yaakov took on and we should all take on because it's in the spiritual of our DNA. Not only to learn in the Beis Midrash, but also know how to take what you learn in the Beis Midrash and apply it to the real world. Have a good Shabbos.
This concludes another episode of the Prism of Torah. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something valuable. If you did, please subscribe to the podcast and give a 5-star rating. You can also find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts or our own website, prismoftorah.com, where we have a full archive of all our past episodes. We would like to thank Yona Vefa for the recording equipment and Eli Podcast Productions for handling all our post-podcast productions. Join us next week for another enlightening conversation on the Prism of Torah.